Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I have been off all week, you guys. Oh, sorry, let me turn this down. Sorry about that. At least I know my audio is working now. All right, at least I know my audio is working now. All right, so I have some really good news. I'm extremely excited. Today, you guys, I was able to get funded with not only E8 markets, right? I just passed a 150K E8 markets signature account, which is essentially just like a futures account. It's just 150K, but it's Forex. Pretty much, it's like 3% daily drawdown, 6% is the profit target, and then the only difference is when you get it funded, they do have like a 2% daily pause. So this is my third time being funded with E8 markets, and I blew my last signature account really bad. And then I had a 200K two-step account. Well, actually, it was a three-step account with EA Markets. And I was up about 6,500 before I crashed out and blew that account as well. And that happened around like Christmas time, right? So, and then I'm also just past my phase two with Alpha Capital, right? 200K account with Alpha Capital, just passed the phase two on that one as well. So I'm extremely excited to finally be funded again, you guys, because I went through a rough patch and I wasn't following my rules, and it just didn't work out. So essentially, the trade that I took that pretty much got me funded, um, I essentially took this move right here, right at 12:06 is when the drop started to happen. Right, the market started to collapse. Right, I pretty much got in right here on this pullback, and my stop loss was like this, right? My entry was like that. My stop loss was up here in this little gap, right? Let me zoom in. And I literally rode it all the way down. I rode it all the way down, right? So this was about a 5-to-1. So I was risking about 3,000 to make about 15,000. I didn't even really need to make 15,000 on my EA Markets account. I just figured I would just, I figured that this was going to be the move, so why not just go for it? Prior to that, on a 5-minute chart, I was taking sales, right? So let me give you guys the narrative on what made me believe in this in the first place, right? So, well, actually, I will have to start you guys off on a 4-hour chart. So up here, you guys, I wanted the market to go a little bit higher, right? We had a bearish engulfing candle right here. I'm going to remove some of these drawings. Make sure you guys drop a like on this video as well. I would greatly appreciate that. But right up here, we had a bearish engulfing on a 4-hour time frame, and then we also had an order block connected up here. But this gap right here was kind of acting as a breakaway gap, right? So if you box this gap up on a 4-hour chart, you guys will see, right? Even you don't even have to box it up. You can see from this dotted line right here, the lower part of this gap, right? Every time price went into this gap, it just rejected away, right? Not one body closed within this gap, right? And then we didn't even get to the midpoint of this gap as well, right? So that was already telling me that, hey, price is going to likely want to retrace, but it didn't do it right away, right? It was kind of choppy at first. So on a 5-minute time frame, I did take multiple trades, but before I took the trade that got me funded with EA Markets and Alpha Capital, I was getting chopped up a little bit in here, but it really wasn't too bad. So essentially, the same thing happened right here, right? At first, this was acting as a breakaway gap on a 5-minute chart, right? This little gap right in here was acting as a breakaway gap. At first, we didn't touch it, but then the market came back up here. It touched it, and then that's when I seen that rejection right at 12:06, 12:07, right? So, once I seen that, I was already looking for a price to continue to the downside. So once I seen that on a 1 minute time frame, right, this is how it looks on the 1 minute time frame. All right, now this right here should be a breakaway gap, and then this should be a breakaway gap, and then also we have this order block right here to protect us as well. So once I seen that, that was like a pretty much a signature type of thing right there, So I pretty much got into that trade, ran it all the way down, locked in profits, and then now you guys can see that, the market found some support, and it's, I'm not going to say it's reversing, but it did have a little bit of a pullback, right? And I appreciate you guys for dropping a like on this video. You guys are amazing. What's up? What's up, Cookies? Nice to see you in the chat. How did you do today, Cookies? Did you trade at all? So that was pretty much the trade that got me funded. Recently this week, you guys, I've been doing a really good job trying to stick to my plan, and pretty much one of the things that I look to do every day is wait for that 1 hour candle to close. So I don't really like to try to place a trade before 10 a.m. The reason why I blew my Alpha Capital account, the 100K account that I had funded, was because I wasn't, following those rules, right? And then you guys can also see right here, we did dip down into a little hourly order block right here, which is also the midpoint of this new week opening gap. Then we found another new week opening gap to kind of like bounce off of as well, right? And then I'm also going to take a quick look at Bitcoin, you guys, because I haven't given you guys a update on Bitcoin in a while, and so many people are thinking that Bitcoin have found support. Do not believe in that, you guys. Right? So we're going to go to the weekly time frame. And I already told you guys, right, this zone that was on my chart, right, we're now looking at Bitcoin, BTC, USD. Right, so this zone that was on my chart, this is now going to be an inversion fair value gap, meaning that we're looking for a price to, come back up here and then keep going to the downside, right? If this gap right here stays open completely, right, this gap, let me zoom in so you guys can know exactly what I'm talking about. If this gap right here stays open completely, then Bitcoin is without a doubt is going to continue to drop, right? So don't let these people on the internet start getting you, hyped up and excited and telling y'all that Bitcoin have found support and all this other nonsense. I do not believe that, right? And then also, this gap up here, I'm going to remove this. This gap right here on Bitcoin, we're looking at the weekly time frame. This is pretty much a breakaway gap. Notice how it went into this gap one time and then it sold off, right? So best case scenario is Bitcoin could pull all the way back up here to the 95,000s. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is do not think that it have found support just yet, right? Now, I already told you guys on past videos, and y'all already know when it comes to crypto, I'm looking at the higher time frames, right? Bitcoin, in my opinion, is not going to be bullish until it can close above the midpoint of this wick on the 6-month time frame, right? And the midpoint of this wick is around 116,000, pretty much 117,000, right? So I know what you're thinking, like obviously it's going to be bullish if it closes all the way above there. But the reason why that's important is because this is going to help you not get faked out, right? Because every little pullback, people are going to be saying that, oh, it's ready to go, it's ready to go. We need to really see some market structure in order to think that Bitcoin is ready to go. Because on a 1-month time frame, you guys can see that we have already broken below a swing low, right? We got a monthly candle to close below a swing low. So that means what, right? I'm going to remove this for a while. I had too many Fibonacci charts. On there. So if we measure out this range, understand that we don't have a swing low just yet, right? We have to wait for a monthly candle to close in order to have a swing low. But let's just use a hypothetical example, right? Let's say if this was a swing low right here, right? This yellow line is premium. So that would mean what? We will want to see the market go at least above the premium, and then and then continue to sell off, right? So, there's just so many things that can hold the price down. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on that because I've been seeing like so many people saying that Bitcoin have found support and all this other crazy stuff. I just would not trust that, right? Then we can also look at Ethereum as well. And by the way, guys, if y'all have any charts that y'all want me to look at, right, y'all can see my watch list right here. I'm been getting heavier and heavier into crypto. Let's look at some Ethereum real fast, right? Because this is just going to be a quick video. I don't know how long I'll be here. Maybe at least until 4 p.m. because I haven't really been able to check in with y'all in a long time. I literally just pulled over. I'm in Florida right now. I just pulled over, and I was like, I need to go speak to my peoples because it's been too long, right? So same thing with Ethereum. They're saying that Ethereum has found support. I don't believe in any of that, right? I'm still looking for this area to be swept out, which is, that's below 1400. And then these two lows right here could be swept out as well, right? So that's, below 900. So I still do think, Ethereum could possibly pull back even further, right? I just had to give you guys my quick update. Y'all already know, if y'all just go watch some of my old videos, we're using the higher time frames, right? So that's why I don't really have to go and give you guys an update every 2 seconds because, we are using the higher time frames and it's going to take some time for our analysis to fully play out. All right. So that's a quick update on Bitcoin, Ethereum. Now I'm going to jump back to my future chart. And then we're going to look at this on the hourly time frame. I don't really know if this market wants to keep going down or not, but it just doesn't feel like it, right? If we're going to look at this on the hourly chart, which is, that's the time frame we're using right now, because we have already pulled back this far, we will have to use this entire range. I like to use the entire range anyways, but as you can see right here, we did drop into a little discount. But we don't really know if any of this is going to hold up or just keep dropping off, right? Then we also have this 4-hour fair value gap, right? These 3 candles right here make, I'm sorry, not fair value gap, but we have a 4-hour order block, right? These 3 candles right here make one order block. So we could easily continue to pull lower for the rest of the day, right? Obviously, I'm done trading. E8 Markets did send me my funded account. So I do love that about E8 Markets. They're so good at, being fast and being quick with everything. So I always appreciate that. Also, make sure you guys use my code if you guys are going to go check out E8 Markets, Alpha Capital. Everything is going to be in the links in the description below. If you guys want to support my channel, you could always do so by either just using my code or just, dropping a like on the video, right? I would always appreciate that as well. All right, so let me see. Look at the 1 minute time frame. Let's at least watch this from the 5 minute, just because, like I said, I don't know. I feel like it's the afternoon session. It's It's a Thursday. We have already had the move of the day happen, so I'm not really looking to take any other trades. But, this trade right here was the trade that I took to pass my phase two with Alpha Capital, and then I also passed my 150K account with E8 Markets, right? It was the 150K signature account. And this trade just worked out to perfection, and I literally rode it all the way down to the very bottom right there. So couldn't have been a better trade. I was really patient today, so I was really proud of myself because I knew I wanted to take sales. I did, take a couple entries prior to this big drop. Like I said, I was taking this sale right here. I took this sale. I took a little bit of a buy after we swept this liquidity right here. I just scalped that. That wasn't really too much. But and then I took my first trade. I took a loss because I thought that this gap right here was going to hold up. So when the market dropped down, I put my stop loss right below there, expecting for it to go back up, but it never did. It just stopped me out. So, I pretty much was using my narrative to, get a feel for the market, because sometimes when you have like a engulfing candle on a 4-hour chart the way that we did, right? So we had this big engulfing. Sometimes the market could come all the way up here and touch this order block, but you always want to pay attention about pay attention when it comes to how the market is respecting a gap, right? So when I was looking at this gap on a 4-hour chart, let me zoom in so you guys can know what gap I'm talking about. So when I was looking at this big gap right here on the 4-hour chart, you notice as soon as we come over, like I said earlier, price was treating this as a breakaway gap. So understanding breakaway gaps is something that really helped me as a trader. That was one thing I really learned from ICT, and it really took my trading to the next level, right? Because once you understand that on a 4-hour time frame, that all of these wicks are all of these candles are just barely going up into this gap, that's going to give you information and tell you that, hey, it's likely going to be bearish today, right? If we can't even, right, so this is the gap that we're looking at, right? This big orange box. I'm not going to leave it on the chart, but notice how we didn't even get to the midpoint of this 4-hour gap, right? We only got to about the quarter level, right? Or like the lower quadrant of this gap. So essentially, how I like to use gaps, and pretty much what I learned from ICT was like, you can pretty much use any gap. It's all about knowing how the market is respecting that gap, right? Because once you know that, then it can help you frame a trade, right? So I'll give you another example, right? So when the market came up here and then it dropped back off, it made two gaps, right? It made this gap right here on the 4-hour time frame. Then it made this gap right here on the 4-hour time frame. Notice how at first the market was reluctant to get up even up until this gap, right? The market was reluctant to get up there, and then what happened? It kept going down. It kept going down, right? It created some liquidity up here, but ultimately it kept going down, right? It created a little bit of liquidity right there. Then it created a little bit of liquidity right there. Ultimately found some support, hit the weekly rejection block, right? Hit the midpoint of that, found support, and then now we're working our way back up. So, like I said, I wanted to see price, I wanted to see it go a little bit higher today, but because it wasn't willing to get up there, right, I just pretty much had to use the lower time frames to wait for, time and price. And then once, time and price gave me what I wanted, I was able to take my trade, and I had about almost a 6-to-1 risk to reward ratio on that trade that I just showed you guys. All right, so now trading the evening session, we can drop down into the 5 minute. Trading the evening session is like pretty much dead because we've been in consolidation, since pretty much 1 p.m. So there's nothing here for me to trade. I just really jumped on this live to give you guys the good news about, being funded with EA Markets again, and being funded with Alpha Capital again. And I just wanted to show you guys the trade that I took today, and hopefully, hopefully pass some gems along for people who's really, looking to learn and get better with ICT concepts and stuff like that. All right, and I also want to update you guys on what had happened with Alpha, not Alpha Capital, but Apex, right? So I'm still thinking about making an entirely different video about this. But essentially, what happened with Apex was they dropped me from being an affiliate, right? After I had already earned about $100, they dropped me from being an affiliate. They said I wasn't being productive enough, right? Which is crazy because I just started going live more consistently. Like, the engagement have been going up, right? I had literally just earned about $100 with my Apex affiliate link. But long story short, I think they dropped me because I was being honest with you guys, and that's something that I really, I take a lot of pride. Like, even with me being an affiliate with a lot of these companies, I tell you guys my true experience. I don't never try to sugarcoat and be like, yeah, these guys are great. Just use my code. And I think Apex dropped me from being an affiliate because of that. There was people who would come into my chat, right? People who would come into my videos, and they would ask me about Apex, and I would tell them straight up, Apex is tough, bro. It's not. I have nothing against Apex, but we all know Apex funding is tough. Even with those new accounts that they just dropped, it's still not that exciting, because they gave you the end of day, but then now they're giving you a daily pause of $1,000, and then they're also giving you a 30-day time limit. So it's like, I don't like any of that stuff. What's up, my baby Melissa? Oh my gosh. So I don't really like any of that, man. And like I said, I'm always going to be real with you guys. That don't matter with any company. If you guys ask me about any company and I have traded with these people before, I'm going to give y'all my real experience. I'm not here to just spam my code and be like, yeah, use code trucking, code trucking. No, I really want you guys to win. So if I feel like you guys aren't going to win, I'm not going to tell you guys to go, shop with that company, bro. And I feel like that's why Apex dropped me. You know, it is what it is, man. But like I said, I still don't know if I want to do a full video about it. But I just thought it was crazy, man, because I was just trying to keep it real, be honest with my peoples. That's all. People are going to go still buy those accounts no matter what, anyways. A lot of people that I told to not, get the account, not because it's a bad company, not because they don't pay out and all of that good old stuff. I was just telling people, hey, look, if you're a beginner trader, bro, Apex is probably not for you. All right, and I wasn't trying to hate on the company, but it's just the facts. Their whole, layout is centered around, like the ideal of like, oh, I can buy a cheap account, but then you're probably going to blow that account within like the first 3 or 4 days. Which is like, for me, what I tell people is this: if you're still learning, if you haven't taken a payout, if you haven't ever been funded before, then that means you're still a new trader, right? And sometimes even if you have been funded or taken a payout, if you haven't been trading for at least 5 years, you're still a new trader. So what I tell people is, like, for me personally, I like the two-step accounts better because at bare minimum you can get more experience, more practice with those accounts, so that you can actually look at your statistics, right? See what you're doing right, see what you're doing wrong. Because like you can't even look at your statistics on an Apex account if you're going to blow it within like the first 2 days of having it. So, don't get me wrong, like I like Apex, but I think they removed me because I was being real with people. And like I honestly think they sent a spy to one of my lives one day because I'll never forget this. And this happened like right before they removed me. They sent this guy and he kept asking me questions about Apex. And I felt like maybe he was working for the company. I don't know. But I still was going to give him my honest opinion. And I was like, yo, I like the company. It's good, but you're probably going to, because he was telling me like, man, I keep blowing accounts. I just can't hold on to my accounts, bro. And I'm like, that's because those accounts are hard as hell, bro. Like, when you see people like Jesse getting consistent payouts with Apex, you see people like JCap, he got a $2.4 million payout with Apex. You have to understand, JCap been trading for like, what, 12 or 14 years? Jesse been trading for like over 11 years, bro. These people have a ton of experience. These people have, even Jesse have told people that Apex is not for beginner traders. And like even EA Markets, bro, I love EA Markets, but the reason why they stopped offering two-step accounts, they used to have a two-step and a three-step. Think about this, y'all. Why don't every company offer every account? Think about that. If they really wanted to see you all win, why don't they just offer two-step accounts, three-step accounts, like pretty much every account? Is EA Markets good for beginners? Honestly, the account types that they have right now aren't really the best for beginners, because the Forex account that they have right now is pretty much the same as, the futures account. And the thing about beginner traders, because even me, I've been trading for almost 8 years and I still struggle with trailing drawdown. Trailing drawdown is going to cripple most beginner traders. I don't care how you try to draw it up. It's going to be painful. That's why today I got funded with E8. I only bought this account because I figured that I could get it funded within 1 day, right? Which is what I did. Now that I'm funded with E8, I have a 150K account with E8 Markets now. I have to really be patient on this account until I build my buffer, and then also I need to also build a cushion. So that takes time, right? That takes time. That takes consistency. You have to make sure your emotions is in check, right? But like I said, even with Apex, you can get a payout with Apex. Is it beginner friendly? Not really. Is those accounts truly worth it? No, not for me. So, and that's what I think. That's why I think they kicked me off the. That's why I think Apex got rid of me, because like I just got to be real with you guys. I mean, I don't know what else to do. I'm not going to like. I don't really care about the whole code thing that much. Like, yes, if you guys use my code and support my channel, I truly appreciate that, because it shows me like that you guys are rocking with me. Even when y'all come in and drop a like and just engage, bro, like I truly be appreciating that type of stuff. But ultimately, I gotta keep it real more than anything else, because there's so many traders that's making trading so horrible. Like the whole industry, they're making it so horrible because, you know, they don't keep it real, bro. You know, and I try to give y'all updates as much as I can. That's why I'm here live now giving y'all an update. But the reason why I wasn't able to go live, you know, this week is because honestly I've just been busy with work, and you know, I've been going through a lot with my company. They've been, you know, stressing me out. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just focus on getting my load there. Let me focus on just, you know, doing my job. And whenever I can go live, I'll go live. Like I wanted to go live today, but I was inside of a traffic jam for like almost an hour and a half, and I was in a place that where I had no signal. So I couldn't even go live even if I wanted to. Right? But by the way, you guys, I'm looking at the 15-minute chart because I'm wondering if this gap is going to be like a breakaway gap, if the market is going to want to pull back up. I don't really know. I'm not really looking to trade this session anyways, to be honest. I was just here kicking it with you guys. How can you request to join my live? I have no idea. Yes, and definitely use code trucking so my beautiful wife can retire early. She's in here showing so much love. She's literally giving, she's the one doing all of those emojis that you guys see on the side, making it lit for you guys when you guys come in. Shout out to her. I wish I had more supporters like my beautiful woman. So I'm just here to chop it up, man. I just felt like I wanted to get that off my chest with Apex, cause it was, I don't know, man. It was just a weird experience for me. Like I had just made $100 with my code, and then all of a sudden they say I'm not being productive enough, and then they pretty much take the $100 away. You know, I was like, damn. You know, can you give us a update on what cryptos and stocks look good as of today? Okay, for sure. I could definitely do that. Because I did actually get an alert on AV. So let me go to AV real quick. I did Aero Environment, right? I did get an alert on these guys. So it is pulling back. You guys can see it had a decent little rejection away from this monthly fair value gap. Let's just go to the monthly time frame. All right, so y'all remember I was saying that I'm looking for price to come down into this box right here. This could be a potential area to look for, you know, a little buy down here. Pretty much 176, $176 and below. Right, we're looking at AV. So I did get my alert. I moved it down a little bit. Let me move it up just a little bit higher, right? Because I just want to be aware of this. All right, so we got AV. We just looked at Bitcoin, but I'll look at Bitcoin again because I was telling you guys that Bitcoin did not find support. Do not let these YouTubers and all of these, you know, news people get you excited, right? Bitcoin did not find support, right? We're looking at the weekly time frame. So you guys can see this purple box on my chart right here. This comes from this fair value gap right here. right? So I boxed this fair value gap up right there. You notice how we was respecting it at first. Notice how when the price was bullish, these candles closed above the midpoint of this fair value gap. So that is a extremely bullish sign, right? And then now this is going to be an inversion, right? So at first it was a fair value gap. Now when it breaks below, it's going to be an inversion. So essentially it was support at first. Now it's going to potentially be resistance, right? And then we also have this gap right up in here, right? This gap was a gap that, I don't know where it came from, honestly. I should have labeled it, but it's connected right up in here as well. And this is the weekly time frame that we're looking at. And notice how, price hit up in here one time and then rejected away. So this is more than likely going to be a breakaway gap, right? And the next thing I will be looking for on this Bitcoin chart is this gap right here. If this gap, if don't one body close in this gap, for sure price is going to look to continue to go to the downside. So if we get a body close above inside of this gap, that could possibly mean that maybe it's starting to find some support, right? But I think it's way too early to try to call, Bitcoin out and say that Bitcoin is finding support. I still think we got too much liquidity down here, and I think that we could easily go below 50K for Bitcoin, right? So I'm sticking to my plan. I'm going to be, buying some USDC every week and then buying some cryptos, right? So if we go to CoinGecko, I've been pretty much focusing on everything that's in the top 50. Right, so I haven't been buying Bitcoin, haven't been buying Ethereum, haven't been buying Solana. Solana is getting very close to a buy zone for me, but I want it to come a little bit lower. Cardano, number 13, I haven't started buying it yet, but I came real close to buying some the other day. Hypecoin, we're going to be looking to buy that sooner or later as well. Chainlink, we're going to be looking for that to go into a buy zone. I think today I did buy some Uniswap at about this price right here. $3.99 is literally the price I bought. I know I probably bought it a little bit high because it did bottom at like 250, and that was like just a week ago. I have been buying some Polkadot, right? So I'm only mostly focused on the top 50. I don't think Near Protocol is in the top 50 just yet. But it was literally just at like number 65 a week or so ago, and now, wait, what is this? Midnight? Wow, I can't believe this is connected to Cardano. Wow. So anyways, I'm mostly just focused on the top 50. Anything under the top 50, I'm not really that interested in it. So I have bought some Near Protocol. I bought some Near at $1. I bought some Near when it was at like 180 as well. And you guys know how I feel about Near. I done did a gazillion videos about Near. I'm just gonna keep buying Near until I get rich, right? Pi, I've been getting free Pi. If you guys don't know about Pi, they have an app where you could just pretty much get free Pi just by using their app. So I got like about 83 Pies right now, nothing too crazy. And then Uniswap, we can go look at that chart right now. We can go look at some of these charts, right? That's in the top 50, right? So we had Uniswap. Very bearish chart. I would not be surprised to see Uniswap continue to go lower, especially if Bitcoin is going to continue to go lower. But at this point, like, we're buying pretty much at the all-time lows, right? So that's why I had to go ahead and secure some Uniswap all the way down here. Because, I mean, if you just look at this weekly chart, just in November 2025, right, it was all the way up there at, $10. So it just makes so much sense to start buying it when it's at the lows, because if we ever break past all-time highs, then we're looking at a 10x on our money, right, from where price is at. So for me, it's just a no-brainer. And plus, Uniswap is it's in the top 50. You want to look at some Zcash? We could look at Zcash. Let's look at Zcash. I don't know where it's at. Let me try to find it. So Zcash, very bearish chart. I don't know how far it's going to go down, but we could look at the monthly chart. Big gap, all right? This big wick right here is absolutely disgusting. So when it comes to Zcash, I do think it's going to find some support. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it at $50 again. If it do go back to $50, I will be buying it up like crazy. But it's just too early to tell. This is just a very bearish chart to me. We can look on a weekly time frame as well. You guys can see, these three green candles right here. That's going to make an order block. So even if we do pull back up, I really wouldn't trust it until, right? Same thing I said earlier when we was looking at Bitcoin, right? This wick right here on a 6-month time frame, we would need to close a body above the midpoint of this wick before I could fully be bullish, right? But obviously, I'm not going to wait for price to go up there to start buying it. I'm going to keep my eye on this project and see, what they have going on. I like projects that actually have stuff going on, right? Zcash, they have a lot of potential, but they need to do a little bit more for me to really, feel comfortable investing, right? But all of these lows, I don't really trust it, right? All of these lows right up in here, right? We had a low that's in here that recently just got swept right there, right? So it did sweep that low right there, and then it, rejected away a little bit. But I'm not going to be looking to be a buyer on Zcash until we at least pull back down into like $130 or below, right? We're looking at the daily chart right now. If we look at the weekly chart, right, we can box up. I'm going to remove all of this off my chart, and I'm going to box up this little gap right here on the weekly time frame. Right, and then I'm going to also box up this gap right here, right? So I would like to see this gap act as a breakaway gap, meaning that price can come down into this gap, but I don't want to see a body close below the midpoint of this gap, right? So if we can get Zcash for $130 and below, that's where I will feel comfortable to start reinvesting into Zcash for the long term, right? But like I said, ultimately they're gonna have to do a little bit more, right? Origin Trail, it's not in the top 50, so I'm not really interested in Origin Trail that much. Not until I get, some of the more prominent cryptos in my portfolio first. XRP is getting really close to a buy zone, right? So XRP is a perfect example of like the breakaway gap strategy I was telling you guys about right just now. All right, let me look at the 2-week time frame, right? So I'm just going to remove this. And then this gap right here, same scenario, right? Same scenario. I just want to see if price can get to this zone, that would be best case. But like I said, I don't want to see a body close below the midpoint of this gap right here. So if XRP could come all the way down here and give us, 100, not 100, but $1.10 and below is where I would like to start getting into some XRP. And then, you know, you're going to have to be quick. Maybe use some limit orders if you want to catch it at like 80 cents. But I could definitely see it going all the way down to 80 cents for sure. Right? Yeah, you could definitely take shorts. I think on Coinbase, I think Coinbase allow you to take shorts. Like you can use prop firm companies like EA Markets and stuff like that. They have, you know, prop firm accounts now to where you can take shorts on cryptos. I think Coinbase. Don't quote me on the Coinbase though. I think Coinbase definitely do allow it. And then we could also look at Chainlink, right? Chainlink, like I told you guys from many videos ago, I circled all of this liquidity that we was getting ready to sweep, right? We have one last level of liquidity left, and that's this little yellow line right there. And then, you know, once we get up in there, I think we could possibly see, you know, $4 and below on Chainlink, right? $4 and below on Chainlink. At what point this year would you guess that the markets will start pumping back up? That's a great question, right? So that's actually a great question. So I think that, and that's why I've been using the 6-month time frame, you guys. So on the 6-month time frame, right? This is one candle on a 6-month time frame, right? We're looking at Chainlink. I'm going to remove some of this stuff. Right, so we're looking at the 6-month time frame. So that means what? This candle has to close on the 6-month time frame. This candle isn't going to close until what? June, sometime in June or whatever. So that's why I was saying I want to be ready for this market to possibly dip into this. Like, look at this order block right here. It don't have to get all the way down there, but I believe that it can, and I believe that it will. Right? So I think that price could, you know, wick down all the way down here, but then close all the way back up here within like June, right? Because that'll be like the end of this 6-month candle. So I think we could go all the way down here sometime in the near future, and then close somewhat strong, right? Because think about it. On the 6-month time frame, if this candle closes above this swing low, that's going to be looked at as a bullish signal, right? That's going to be looked at as like a bullish signal right there. And then if that next 6-month candle can do what I've been telling everybody to look out for, which is what? Close above the midpoint of this area right here, this big wick. Look at this big wick on a 6-month time frame. If that next 6-month candle could close above this wick right here, for sure 2027 is going to be the year that we can really become millionaires. That if that happens, this is why I've been trying to accumulate like crazy. This is why I've been trying to like get a payout, get funded, I mean, and just even if I can't get a payout, just put as much money into these things as possible, because if that happened, right? Let's say you get in, you know, you follow the trucking trader, you actually, you know, learned a thing or two from them, and then let's say you buy Chainlink all the way down here, $4 and below, and then in 2027 it starts to run, you already 10x your money within 1 year, right? So you already 10x your money. But let's say 2027 is just a complete bull year. It's like 2021 all over again, right? It's like one of those years where cryptos just start to take off, become parabolic. Now you're possibly looking at a 20x, right? Because if you get in at 4 and this thing go to $80, you could 20x your money. And that's why I've been trying to tell people, you don't really need much when it comes to investing. You know, it's not like you have to have, $1 million. I mean, put $100 on there, put something on there that, won't really stress you out, right? So you could put that $100 on there and not have to think about it for 2 years. And if you 20x $100, what's the worst that can happen? You make $2,000. It's like having an extra income tax check. Is it a good time to average into stocks because the prices are good, but the market is just dropping? So it's a little bit confusing. When it comes to like dollar cost averaging, I've never been the best of the best when it comes to dollar cost averaging. Right? And the reason why is because they're going to continue to freak you out. They're going to make you think, oh, the market is getting ready to take off. And then before you know it, it's coming right back down, right? So that's why I've been saying, you can buy stocks now on COINBASE. So now that you can buy stocks on COINBASE, what I would say is just buy USDC, right? You earn about 4% just holding USDC. And then you watch the markets on the higher time frames. And then remember, everything runs off liquidity. So, if you wanted, if like, for example, for Chainlink, if you wanted to start averaging in all the way down here, it's still not the worst of the worst ideas, because if you're thinking long term, right? If you're thinking long term, once this thing go back above the all-time highs, you have nothing to worry about buying Chainlink at $9.20. Obviously, if you're somebody like me and you want to have the best of risk to rewards, right? You want to have the best entries that you could possibly have. You're just going to believe in your experience as a trader, wait for Chainlink to sweep this liquidity, hit this 6-month order block, and then you're going to, buy as much as you can. Even if you just have $400 and, you got that limit order down here at $4, you get 100 Chainlinks, right? None of us know how high Chainlink is going to go in the future, right? Chainlink could be just as high as Ethereum one day. It could be just as high as Bitcoin one day. You guys have to understand that Chainlink have more of a use case than Bitcoin. It's like the infrastructure is so important in crypto. People don't talk about these things because they want to hype everything up every 2 seconds. But all I'm saying is this: think about it. While all of these things are making all-time lows, it's just like, just get in. I mean, everybody don't have to be anal about the prices, but that's just, even me, like, I have already started buying their protocol. I've already started buying things right now because, like I said, even though I know it's likely to go lower, what if it don't go lower, right? You don't want to miss out on these low prices as well, right? So put a small amount of money in. Obviously, this is not financial advice, but this is what I'm doing, right? Put a small amount of money in that you can afford to not be stressed out about every day. And as it continues to drop each week, put $20 here, $30 there, $20 here, $20 there, right? We're on the higher time frame. So we have at least, in my opinion, all of this year before crypto possibly take off without us, right? Yeah, so she said, or is it the best to just wait for the perfect entry? I think you should try to do a little bit of both, right? Like, put a little bit of money in now, but understand that Bitcoin is likely to keep coming down, right? So if Bitcoin is likely to keep coming down, everything else is likely to keep going down with it, right? But look at Solana. Solana just made it low at $68, and now it bounced all the way back up to $90. So even if you was day trading that's a lot of opportunity. All right, and like I said before, we don't have a swing low on the monthly time frame just yet, so we can't really use our Fibonacci tool on a monthly time frame. But let's say if we had a swing low, right, price could pull all the way back up to 160, and make people think that it's getting ready to take off, right? And then people are going to buy in at the highs again, right? And then it's going to possibly come down and sweep this new liquidity that is just made right here once again. So that's why I was saying, like, you have to really just believe in your idea as an investor, right? Because me, I'm investing into crypto. I'm not day trading it. So even if I was to buy Solana right now, I wouldn't be mad at all. This is going to be a great price, right? I remember back in the days when I first started to learn about crypto, right? I'm going to pull up Ethereum. I remember back in the day when I first started to learn about crypto, and Ethereum was at like $400 or $500. I think it was like right up in here around 2020, right? I'll never forget. I mean, look at this. This is pretty much the same chart that we're seeing now on most of the cryptos that I just showed you. So when Ethereum came all the way up here to 1,400, then it came all the way back down to $100, nobody was buying it. Think about that. The same thing is getting ready to happen again, right? And then even as it started to come up, 300, 400, 500, people would say, oh, that's too high, that's too high. Then before you know it, bam, it's almost 5,000. And now people are wondering, oh man, why didn't I just take Ethereum when it was at $100? Obviously, I had just started learning about crypto at that time. But the point is, the opportunity is literally, it's the same opportunity that's unfolding right now. Same opportunity, right? The market is pulling back. People are going to be scared, and they're not going to buy. And then when it goes back up, they're going to be like, oh man, now I have to chase it at the top just because I want to be able to say I'm a crypto bro, and I was in there too. I bought it too, right? Sometimes I feel like that's all some people care about. They don't really care about learning how to trade or anything like that. Is the limit order automatically going to take the money from your USDC, or you have to do it manually? Yes, so it's going to automatically do it for you, right? So, like, let's say you have $400 in your COINBASE account, and it's all in USDC, and then you put in an order to buy, Chainlink at $4, right? So, the moment it goes to $4, it's going to fill you at that price. Right, it's going to fill you at that price, and then you will own 100 chain links for $4 a piece. Right, so that's how that limit order is going to work. So we looked at Solana. Is there any other cryptos that you want to look at? I know you said Origin Protocol. We could look at Origin Protocol. It's not really something that I'm going to be looking to buy just yet. But I do have it on my watch list, obviously, and I am going to be watching it. But so far, there's just not enough here for me to really get excited. And it's not even on the top 50. Like I said, I want to mostly be focusing on the top 50. So what's undervalued on the top 50 list right now? For me, y'all know Near Protocol, Cardano, even though Cardano decides that it never wants to move, I'm still going to be looking to get into Cardano. We can look at Hype. Let's look at Hype. All right, this is another one that I'm going to be excited to get into, but same thing, right? It has to go to a good price, right? I'm not just going to be buying just to buy and just to say, oh, I bought, right? So Hype, we've been calling out this little order block on a monthly time frame. These two red candles make an order block. Notice how the bodies haven't closed below or at this midpoint just yet, right? So I would like to see one more pullback on Hype to get below, maybe like $20, right? We did come down here to generate some liquidity down here, right? So all of these little swing lows on a 1 month time frame, that's going to be liquidity. And then since we do have a swing low on a 1 month, we actually can use our Fibonacci tool this time around. And then right here, if we drop down into a lower time frame on a weekly chart, we could see where this market could possibly want to pull back up to. Maybe it goes back above $40 before coming down here to sweep this liquidity, right? But this is definitely something that I'm going to be looking to get into, right? And because you really don't need that much. If you could get in at the lower prices, and like let's say crypto takes off. Let's say you manage to get about 100 hype coins, right? So let's say you manage to get 100 at $20 or below, you spend about 2,000. Me, that's all I'm looking to do. I'm just looking to get 100 coins of each, right? Like I just bought Uniswap. I only spent about $150 on Uniswap. I got about 38 coins, right? I got it at $4, right? So same thing with Uniswap. Look at this. Chart is making all-time highs. Do you hear CNN talking about it? I mean, I'm sorry, I said all-time highs. This chart is making all-time lows, right? Do you hear CNN talking about it? Do you hear anybody talking about it? No. That's what excites me. This is when I want to get in the most. If I could, at bare minimum, have $400 down here, and I'm looking for a 10x, right? If it goes all the way back to all-time highs, that's a 10x. If I can turn $400 into $4,000, I'm happy. I don't care if it takes a year. I don't care if it takes 2 years. I don't care if it takes 3 years. Right? That's what trading is about. Being able to turn a little bit of money into more money, right? That's what it should always be about. Right? Sometimes a lot of y'all think y'all are always supposed to be out here buying Lamborghinis and Bugattis off of every trade. It don't work like that. Right? We're just trying to turn a little bit of money into, some more money, right? But I do have some other things on my watch list. I'm probably going to save those for a different video, you guys. I just pretty much worked the whole day. I traded the whole day, so I'm burnt out mentally, and plus I have homework to do. I have so many other things that I need to do, you guys. So I'm going to end the screen. I appreciate all of you for joining. Make sure y'all drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on that bell so you guys will know whenever I'm live, because I'm always going to be giving you guys updates on the cryptos, the energy stocks, like pretty much everything, right? We look at everything on this channel. So and thanks for being in the chat, Melissa. I really do appreciate you for being in the chat with me, engaging. I love you, girl. And I can't wait to come home and see you. So I hope that you're having a good day, and make sure you give me a call or text me when you get off work. So I love you. I'll see y'all later, man. Peace out.